All right, this is page 34 of the journal. And for those of you that are coming back, so you're just temporarily right now at home, when you come back you can get these graphs. You don't have to draw them all. But those of you who are still at home and staying at home, you're going to have to do a sketch of the graphs. All right, so our first thing is a trend line is a blank line. A trend line is a blank line. All right. It's a straight line. Be sure you've underlined the word straight. A straight line that comes as close as possible to the points. Oops, sorry. On a scatter plot. Now, as always, if I'm going too fast for you, you can always pause this video. And scatter plot should be 2 words, sorry. There are approximately the same number of points, blank and blank. A few minutes to get that down. There are approximately the same number of points above and below, and both of those words should be underlined so that it matches our in-class notes. So there are approximately the same number of points above and below the line. But we're going to ignore any blank. And so we're going to ignore any outliers. Now, yesterday we learned that outliers are those points that are very different. So we're going to ignore outliers. All right? So we are going to make predictions. Make predictions. So we're going to draw a backwards L to do our graph over here. And I'm going to actually put the graph up here, and I want you to pause the video and, to the best of your ability, draw the graph. Now, if you are someone coming back, then you can hold on and you'll get this graph when you come back to class. Okay? But the rest of you, here's the graph, so pause the video and get that graph down. Alright, so you should have pushed play now after you've actually attempted drawing that graph. Alright, I'm going to actually just cut out the graph and glue it in. But we have 2 questions that go with it. So the first one is that we are going to draw a trend line. So this is where you'll need a ruler or it doesn't even have to be a ruler. It can just be something with a nice edge. I prefer a ruler that is see-through, and you're going to see why. So here's my ruler. And so I'm looking to draw a line where about the same number of points are on top or on bottom. So first I'm going to get the shape of about. Now I'm going to say that this one's kind of out there a little bit. Maybe not enough to be a full outlier. Sorry. But I'm going to ignore that point. And I'm going to draw a line that really encompasses this group of points right here. And so I'm going to look and I'm going to count. Okay, so if I put my line there, I have 1, 2, 3 above. It looks like a couple on. I'm going to go a little higher because now I have 3 above and I definitely have 3 below now. And I'm going to draw a line. Your line may not be identical to mine. Oh, sorry. I'm removing the ruler, I guess, because I end up not having 3 above and 3 below like I had gone for. That's better. Sorry about that. So if I look at the line I drew, I have 1, 2, 3, and then these 2 are kind of on the line, and I got 1, 2, 3. I probably could have gone a little bit higher with it, but I want the same number of points above as I have below. And so I drew a trend line. My second question is to predict how much you should expect to have to pay in repairs for an 8-year-old car. How much repairs are for an 8-year-old car. Kind of abbreviated that a little bit. So using this line, I'm going to go to age of my car is 8, and I'm going to go up, and I'm going to say that it's going to cost me a little over $1,000. So I'm going to say it's going to cost me $1,050. Now your line may be a little different, maybe shifted a little bit. That's okay. Alright, so below that, I'm going to show you the table and the graph. So I want you to pause and I want you to copy down that table and that graph. And if you have graph paper, this is a good time to maybe graph it. Be sure you're labeling your axis, but once you are done, push play. All right, you should have pushed play by now. You should have already gotten both of these copied down. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to plot these points. So 2.5 hours and 68, I'm going to say is about almost close to 70. 0.5, so it's going to be halfway. And 71, 4 and 98, 3 and 91, 0.25, so here's my half, it's going to be halfway in between that, and 40, 3.5, so 3.5, is going to be at 83. Again, if I'm going too fast, you can just pause the video, catch up. 2 is 75. Don't mean to go too fast. I just try to make the video not too long. It takes a while to upload these, and it takes a while. There's no point in going so slow and making it 10 extra minutes. So 1 and 60. 2.75. So I'm going to go to 2.5. And then I'm going to go halfway between those two lines because think of it as money. Up to 85. Ooh, right in the middle of that square. 1.5 and 70. Now scatter plots usually have tons of points. Actually, they usually have more than this. The scatter plot is known to have a lot of data. We talked yesterday about it being bivariate. meaning we only are going to use our x and y axis. So 3.75, so 3.5, and then halfway between, up to 93. All right, so that's what my scatter plot looks like. So we're just going to actually talk about this scatter plot. We see that it is going in a linear direction. Okay, this point's kind of a little bit out there, might be considered a little bit of an outlier. It's kind of on that last one. This point was kind of an outlier. This one's kind of an outlier. I could see you saying that this is possibly an outlier. It's linear. It is a positive association because it is going in the upward direction. We could draw a line and make some predictions about our spent studying. And I do want us to practice drawing the trend line on this. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to kind of ignore that one just a little bit. I'll find the shape of my line, and then I'm going to move it so I have half between and half above, half below. Now I see these 2 points are the only ones down here, so I'm going to split that in half. It's going to kind of be, I'm going to put one of those on top and one of those on bottom. So if I do my line there, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4 above and 1, 2, 3 below. That's not too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and draw it there, ignoring the one I consider an outlier-ish. And I say ish because it probably technically isn't a really good outlier, but it's still kind of close to that data. It's not like really far out there. But you can see this probably wasn't the best trend line. It's not too bad. So ignoring that one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 above, 1, 2, 3, 4 below, that's good, and then 1 on the line. So that's a really good trend line. I thought it might not have been, but it cuts through the data, kind of having half above, half below. And then we can use that trend line then to make some predictions. So if I wanted to know 2 hours spent studying, I would guess maybe made a 70 on the test. 1.5 hours studying, I could bet was going to make about a 64 on the test. So I can then use that to make some predictions. All right, we're going to go to the left side of page 34 because we're actually going to look at some examples. The first one is kind of small, and I didn't really mean to print them this small, but you know, I'd already printed them all, and so I'm just going to zoom in for y'all, and I want you to draw this scatter plot to the best of your ability. If you're coming back, then of course you can get a copy of it when you come back. I know that'd be easier for some of you, so go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to go ahead and draw that graph and push play when you are finished. All right, so let's talk about this one. It says, is there a relationship with the data? Is there a relationship with the data? So you need to write, is there a relationship with the data? And we're going to say yes. I can see that they are all moving in a downward direction. So yeah, they're not scattered everywhere. There is a relationship there. That word for relationship is association or correlation. Getting those vocabulary down. So our second question you need to write is, what kind of relationship is it? So what kind of relationship is it? And we're going to say that it has a negative association. So I'm going to say, yes, there is a relationship. And I'm going to say a negative association or correlation. Go ahead and write down the third question. If I have goldfish population of 15, how many starfish will there be? Sorry, I know this is small. Giving you enough time to hopefully write that question down. Alright, so let's look. If I have a goldfish population, so I'm going to kind of sketch this. It's kind of linear. We can see that it kind of curves right here. But if we look at that one as kind of an outlier, it kind of gives us a nice, we can go ahead and trace that non-linear pattern though if you want. If I have a goldfish population of 15, so I'm going to go to my goldfish of 15. And it looks like it's around almost the 30, but not quite. So I'm going to say there are 29 starfish. It's not quite to the 30. And then the last question. What can I draw to help me make that prediction? What can I draw to make that prediction? And we can draw a trend line. I didn't make this one as a linear trend line, but it is still, I can still draw a trend line to kind of show me, to help me make those decisions. All right, for the next two, if you are coming back, I'll give them to you when you come back. But the rest of you, I'm not going to make you draw it or put it in your journal. It just won't be on the journal test because it's just too much sketching of graphs. So we're going to do it together. The scatter plot below shows the relationship between the length of a long-distance phone call and the cost. Okay, so we have the cost here, and this is how long the phone call was. Based on the line of best fit, or another word for line of best fit is a trend line. So I'm going to draw myself my trend line. So I'm going to do it where I have the same numbers, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11. So I maybe want 5 on bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would put 5 on bottom and 1 going through the line, I believe. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on top, and 1 that goes kind of right through that, which is nice. There's my trend line. Which of the following amounts is closest to the cost of 120? So this is a very star-like question. They do like to put a couple of these on their star test. So you can see that my graph doesn't go out to 120. We are going to learn to write the equation, not today. But I'm just going to extend my graph out. If it can be extended by just 1 or 2, then I say go for it. So this was 80, 90, 100, so this would be 110. And this one would be 120. I'm just going to follow it up and I'm going to say, ooh, it's about right there. So it definitely looks like it's 10, not quite 11 maybe. So $10, well, it's not exactly on the $10. So that's not right. $20 would be way up here if I think about the scale that this, sorry, y'all can't see the whole question. If I can see the scale is going to go way up there, so 20 is definitely out. So I'm down to deciding whether this is more 12 or more 15. And so if this is 10, and these are going every other, this line would be 11. And it's not quite 11. So I have to make a prediction. Is it going to be, sorry, I shouldn't have probably raised that. It's definitely not going to be 15. 12 is a little bit too high probably. 12 would be right there. So the closest it's going to give me is that it was a 10. So I'm going to go with the 10. Normally it's not going to be that close of a call. Remember I told you our trend lines can all be a little bit differently. So if I had shifted my trend line just a little bit different, then it probably wouldn't have been a 10. I definitely think 12 is probably a little too high. I couldn't have imagined drawing my graph up that high. Alright, So that's the only one I wanted to look at, was look at this example, make predictions. We will be looking at some more predictions. If you have questions, let me know. I know that it's hard drawing the graphs, and I'm sorry about that. But I hope you'll have a blessed day.